HSM, 5 o'clock, what's good? It is good to be here together with you guys and to be in the middle of this series. And have you guys ever been in a situation like what we just had? And something is just gets to be a little bit awkward because someone says something. Now, this happens for us all the time in PVC students. So we'll be together, all of the staff, we're sitting together over, if you guys know where our office is, we're all sitting together over in our offices, and we're talking about different things, and we'll be sitting around, and we're having just a conversation, and really that is how this series came about. We're sitting around, we're throwing out all of these different ideas, and then someone, I'm told it was JC, I'm not the best listener, but I'm told it was JC, she throws out this idea, and she goes, what if we do a series called That's What She Said? And in that moment, I think everybody pretty much took it as a joke, and they're like, there is no way that's ever going to happen. And we were like, yes, that is what we're going to do, because there are so many amazing women in the Bible, and so few times do we actually take the time to look and see what they said. So tonight, we're going to see what she said, but in order to do that, we need to see what it's like when you get put on the spot. Because she said that, everybody's like, yes, dope, let's do it. That's a great idea. But what I want to do is I want to put you guys on the spot. Because what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to give you a question. And I'm going to need everybody over here to scoot a little bit this way, and everybody over here to scoot a little bit this way, because you need somebody on both sides of you. So just scoot in a little bit, fill in some of these gaps, just slide towards the middle. That's always the easiest way to fill those gaps. You ladies, you're perfect. Well done. You're good. You don't have to move anywhere. But slide in so that you have somebody within earshot of you. Very well done in the middle there. Like I see like end-to-end people right there. I love that. Well done. Well done. Okay. So another time, I think it was during At the Movies, we are sitting around having these same awkward conversations that we have that you can see on our YouTube vlog, and we're talking about all these different things, and as we're talking about these different things, it started to talk about, like, have you ever had a conversation, and have you ever talked about, like, having a celebrity crush? And that's a pretty normal question to ask if you've ever had a celebrity crush. But I'm about to ask you a question that came up inside that conversation. And I need every person to identify who you're going to answer this question to. So look to your right or your left. Say, you're my person. You guys answer to each other, okay? Okay, thank you. Very good. So you're going to find your person, and you're going to answer this question to that person immediately. No filter, okay? Do not hesitate. Just spit out whatever comes to your mind, even if it's not appropriate, okay? Here we go. So here we go. You are going to answer to the person next to you this question. Have you ever had a crush on your friend's parents? Go ahead. Turn to the person next to you. Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay. I didn't say you had to tell them it was their parent. If you told them it was their parent, that just got really awkward. Please, okay? If that was their parent that you said you had that crush on, you may have some more conversations coming as you leave here today, okay? So I asked this question of Becca while we were having this conversation, and things got a little bit weird, but I want you guys now turn to the opposite person. So that time you turned to the person to your right. This time I want you to turn to the person to your left, because when we leave here, a lot of times, and we're heading home, my wife, she'll look over at me with that look. You know what I'm talking about? She'll look over at me and like, hey, baby, what do you want? Get ready to answer this question to the person sitting next to you to eat as we go home from HSM. Get your minds out of the gutter. Go ahead, answer the question. What do you want to get as you leave here? What do you want to get to eat? All right, be honest. Who in the room answered Chick-fil-A? Raise your, I knew it! I knew it! I know, this is what happened, like, for some reason, I just had this idea that someone was going to say Chick-fil-A, knowing we always want what we can't have, right? And so you're like, I want to say Chick-fil-A, the waffle fries, but maybe it's because you've been listening to Closed on Sunday on repeat like me. See, my daughter, Ivana, every time we get in the car, she's like, Daddy, can we listen to Closed on Sunday? She loves Jesus is King. She loves this album, and she has every word of the entire verse of Closed on Sunday memorized. She'd be like, watch out for them vipers. And I'm like, woo, girl, okay. My little 5-year-old little girl is singing Closed on Sunday, you're my Chick-fil-A. And like, she's got it down. And that was terrible rendition. I'm sorry. I apologize, Kanye West, who, by the way, is performing right now in Lakewood Church. But anyways, here we go. So That is what my daughter asks for every time we get in the car. And so I need you to look for someone somewhere else in the room, okay? Find somebody and point to them. They cannot be in your row, way in front of you, way behind you. This is like the lip sync challenge. I'm going to throw a question out. You point at them, call them out, be like, you, baby, you. I'm talking to you. And I'm pointing to my wife in case any of you guys back there are wondering, okay? What I need you to do, I'm going to ask you the question. I need you to answer loudly the answer to this question. Somebody hands you the aux cord. What song do you play? I love when you guys are smiling. Like, that just makes my heart so happy. To look around this room and see like Dante, like a big old grin on his face. I love this. What, leave you alone? Oh, I thought that was like a song he was saying. Like, I was like, that's a sad song. Okay, so as you look around the room, like, that made me so happy to see you smile. But this last week, I wanted to make my wife really happy. And she had been asking for something very specific. And she kept coming and she's like, hey, sweetie, can you please get this? Please, will you sign us up? Will you get this? And you know, guys, I'm cheap. Like, I like to spend money on shoes, and that's it. And so I was like, well, how much does it cost? She told me how much it costs, and I was like, I don't want to spend any more money, and this is like a monthly thing. And then AJ's mom came over to our house, and she's hanging out, and she said something, so all of a sudden, I broke down. And maybe your parents have got this for you as well, but I need you to find somebody else in the room, somebody near you, somebody far away, wherever in the room. I want you to answer this question. If this week you got a subscription to Disney Plus, what would you watch? All right, we're going to find out what a few people said. Cammie, what'd you say?
Like the old Disney movies, like the original, like Peter Pan's.
What's the name of one of them? You like Peter Pan, you said?
Yeah.
Peter Pan. Okay, let's go. Daniel, what did you watch on Disney, or what would you watch on Disney? Favorite Disney movie?
Last Jedi.
Was it? The Last Jedi. Any Star Wars fans in the house? Let's go. So, I do not like Disney movies. I do not like animation. Animation is just boring. I don't enjoy it whatsoever. And so I do like these new live action movies. Like, these new live action movies are like awesome. And so for me, I was pretty excited because the new live action ones, like Lion King, any Lion King fans? You love the new Lion King? Only like 2 hands? Oh, I'm so sorry. But the thing that I got really excited about, we subscribed for Disney Plus. I turn it on, and I saw that there is a Star Wars spin-off, The Mandalorian. Like, I was like, yes, preach, right? I'm like, this is worth the price right there. And so I got all my kids together. We had this movie night. We like set everybody up. We watched. How many of you guys have already watched it? Raise your hand if you've already watched it. So I could spoil it for everybody else because these are the true believers, okay? So we're sitting there. We're watching the first episode, and we're into it. But then it got to the very end of the first episode, and there was that moment. Do that again. There was the reveal of the character. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but if you saw my Twitter, then you already know what I'm talking about, because at the end of that first episode, it's like, oh my goodness, this is going to be good. And so as you go through life, you have all of these different things. And you just gave some on-the-spot answers for a few different things. And I've got one last one that I want you guys to give an answer for. So go ahead, find that last person. Maybe make it a person right next to you. And this is the question that I want you to turn to that person, and I want you to answer. Oh, we got some finger pointing. Okay, that works too. Here we go. I want you to answer this question. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Are you a Christian? Now, as I ask that question, this is what I hope happened. I didn't get to hear every single person's answer, but this is what I really, 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 really hope happened. I hope that there were some people in the room that said no. And if you're one of the people in the room who said no, I am so thankful that you're here, because this is a place for you. I do not want the answer for that question ever in this room for every single person to be yes. Because if every single person in this room answers yes, then we're not doing our job. Like, this is not a place just for Christians. This is a place for you. If you are not a follower of Christ and you said no, maybe in that moment you felt all this pressure, but you're like, I got to be honest, I got to be real. And you said no. This is a place for you. We want this to be a place where you can build relationships, where you can laugh and have fun, where you can explore what the rest of your life looks like. You could explore your beliefs and you won't experience judgment. You won't experience being pushed to the outside, that you will know you matter here and you are welcome here if the answer to that question is no. And so I hope someone in this room answered no. And if nobody in this room answered no, then we need to be getting out there and we need to have some people in this room that aren't doing the exact same thing that we're doing. So I really hope if you were the one that said no, I want to commend you. I want to applaud you that you are here in this environment, and I want you to know that you are welcome here and that I'm so glad that you're here. But for everybody else who may have answered yes or some variation thereof, I want to tell you guys just a little story about this last week, because this last week I had this really cool opportunity. My son, he's in second grade. He goes to Odyssey, and in his second grade class, they were going on this field trip. And so they said, hey, we need some chaperones, and so I got to go and be a chaperone. Has anybody ever been to the Pioneer Living History Museum up near okay, a bunch of hands go up. Very cool. So we go to this museum. And what you guys need to know about this museum is that, like, there's all these buildings, but all these buildings are really, really old. Like, they're back from, like, the pioneer days, they're back from, like, the cowboys and Indian days, and there's all these really old buildings. And we're walking around, we go in the blacksmith shop, then we go in this hay maze, then we're, like, panning for gold. I'm getting to know these 6 kids that are all in second grade that I didn't know before, and we're walking around and having a good time. And then we walked up on this one building, and there was this really unique thing that happened at this building. We walked up to this building, and all of these 6 kids began to have this conversation with each other. I didn't initiate it. I didn't keep it going, but they began to talk, and they began to have this conversation. And I think it's a model for you and for me, and it's going to set the stage for what we want to talk about today. As we walked up to this building, the building was actually a church building. It was like a one-room church building with all these pews, and we walked up to it, and one of the kids said, oh, this is a church, and then asked his friend, do you go to church? And that kid said, yeah, I go to church, and then asked another kid. And so they all began this conversation about if or they did or did not go to church. And as this conversation is going on, I'm a pastor, so I'm just sitting back here. I'm just smiling. Like, inside, I'm laughing because my son is part of this group, and we're having this whole conversation. All these kids are asking each other, do you go to church? Do you believe in God? And I'm like, this is stinking amazing right now. Like, this is incredible. And there was this one kid, the only kid in the group. And this one kid, he goes, hey, hold on. So all of you go to church? I don't go to church. And one of the kids said, well, maybe you should. In that moment, with a bunch of second graders, they began to have a conversation that was so meaningful and so important. Not prepared, not rehearsed, off the cuff, impromptu. And so I want to ask you this question right now. If a bunch of second graders have that conversation, then maybe at some point you and your sports team, you and the marching band, you and your advisory, you and your group of friends, you and your entourage, you and your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your family, have had some type of conversation that may lead to the chance for you to share that you believe in God, that you're a follower of Christ, that you go to church. I want to ask you this very important question. What percentage of the people in your life right now know that you're a Christian? Is it like 90%? Is it 50%? 25%? 10%? Only the person you're sitting next to? Inside of our life, we have this really important question that we have to answer. Who knows that I'm a follower of Jesus? And today I want us to go and I want us to look at this story of this woman of incredible faith. This woman that when she is put on the spot, her answer, while not traditional, can let every person for the rest of history know undeniably that she believed in the one true God. So I got to set this up for you in order for you to understand how this story is playing out in this character and what's going on. So there's this people group, and the people group is the people of Israel. What's the name of them? There's this group of people, it's the Israelites, and they are in Egypt as slaves. And as they're in Egypt as slaves, they are working for the Pharaoh, they are building things, they are living a terrible, completely abused lifestyle. And it's an entire group of people. And they're crying out to God. They're saying, God, we need to be free. God, save us. God, save us. And God raises up this person who goes away and then comes back. And then miraculously, this one person comes and leads the group, the people of Israel, from slavery to freedom. And as they go from slavery to freedom, they come to this place called the Red Sea. And the Red Sea, they come, and can you guys just scoot this way and you guys scoot this way? The Red Sea just miraculously parts. And as the Red Sea miraculously parts, they walk right down the middle. And as they walk right down the middle of the Red Sea, I asked you guys to part, you know what I'm saying? They come down the middle of the Red Sea, and then as they come down through the middle of the Red Sea begins to close back down. And it kills all of the Egyptian army behind them. They get on the other side, and as they get on the other side, they begin to send people in to go to this promised land that God's promised to them. And as they send these people in to go see the promised land where God's promised them, they come back with this report, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe God's not big enough. We might not be able to. So they end up spending 40 years wandering around. 40 years. Because they don't have enough faith that God is going to be able to deliver them and give them the land that he's promised. So they spend these 40 years wandering around and around and around and around. And at the end of those 40 years, they come up and they conquer these two nations, Sihon and Og. And it's this miraculous defeat because really they were slaves, they were wanderers, and now they're beginning to become conquerors. And as they begin to become conquerors and as they begin to come there, there's this huge river, and this river is right here, and this river is called the Jordan River. Thank you, Carolyn. You are a lifesaver. My Bible's way up there. They have this river that they come up. It's the Jordan River. And so this is what they say. Joshua, who's now the leader of the nation, he says, you know what? I'm going to take 2 people, and they are going to be my spies. The first time they sent 12 spies. This time he says, we're going to send 2 spies. And he takes these 2 spies, and he says, you're going to go into the city of Jericho. And in the city of Jericho, I want you to go, and I want you to scout out this city. And so the 2 spies, they're like, doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. And they're like coming in, they're like, dang, those dudes are big. And then they're like over here, and they're looking around. They're like, okay, so it's pretty secure over here. And they're like, dang, that wall is huge. And as they're going around, they're looking, and they see this entire city of Jericho. And all of a sudden, they're like, okay, we need to hide. And so they go up to this one house, and they go into the house, and the house just happens to be the house of the key person inside of our story, Rahab. What's her name? Rahab. And so they come to Rahab, and they go inside of this house, but what you need to know is that when they get there, they know it's the house of a prostitute. Because the key person in our story, Rahab, is a prostitute. They come into her house. As they get into her house, for some reason, maybe she hears the commotion in the street. Maybe she sees out the window. She sees people coming. And so what does she do? She takes them up to the very top. She puts them on side of her roof. She hides them there, and then she rushes down. And as she rushes down, she comes down to the bottom floor, and all of a sudden, she hears this knock. Because the king has heard that there's spies. And the king heard that they're spies, and so he sent out his royal guard, and his royal guard is going from house to house to house to house. Back up here because I need my Bible for this part. And as they're going from house to house to house to house, they come to the very front door. And when they get to the front door, they ask Rahab the question. This is what it says. You'll be able to see it on your screens. If you want to open up your Bible to YouVersion, you can follow along there as well. It says this inside of Joshua. It says that they came to the house, and they came and they asked her, some Israelites have come here to spy out the land. So the king sent orders to Rahab, bring out the men who have come into your house, for they've come here to spy out the whole land. Rahab had hidden the 2 men. So at this point, Rahab, she has this decision. She has to decide, what am I going to do? A few moments ago, you guys had to make a decision. I asked you, what Disney Plus movie would you want to watch? I asked you, have you ever told somebody that you're a follower of Christ? Each and every one of us, sometimes we come into these points in life where someone asks us a question, and it's not the most convenient question. It's not in the best timing. We haven't had the opportunity to prepare and get ready for this question, but all of a sudden we get asked this question. And for Rahab, the question was this: where are the spies that came into your house? And she has to give an answer. And so I want us to read her answer, because I think her answer shows us a lot about this woman named Rahab. This is what she says. Yes, the men were here earlier, but I didn't know where they were from. They left the town at dusk as the gates were about to close. I don't know where they went. If you hurry, you could probably catch up with them. Now take a look at this, and let's read through this one more time, because I want you to see a couple different parts of these and what she says, because she is completely lying. She is lying through her teeth. The first lie that she says, yes, the men were here earlier. Were they here earlier, or were they there right now? They were there right now. Let's keep going. She says this, but I don't know where they were from. Does she know where they were from? Yeah, she knows that they were Israelites. She keeps going. She says this, they left the town at dusk as the gates were about to close. Did they leave the town at dusk? Nope. They're upstairs on a roof, hidden. If you hurry, you could probably catch up to them. I want us to think about her answer, because in this moment, she completely lies. And I want us to focus on the lie, because there's a reason why she lied, but I want us to think about why she might be really good at lying, okay? If you are a prostitute and you regularly have people come to you to solicit your services sexually, do you think she ever had a wife show up on her doorstep? Is he in here? Is he here again? Do you think she ever had someone show up and be like, oh, girl, is my boyfriend in there? He better not be in there. Let me at him. Let me at him. You think she ever had to lie at her doorstep to protect someone? Do you think she wanted this career? Prostitution in those days was not something that was desirable at all. Maybe she had a husband who was killed. Maybe at a young age, she lost both of her parents. And so as a result of losing her parents, she had no other way to care for herself. Maybe something tragic and horrible happened to her that caused her early on to have this twisted view of sexuality, where she didn't begin to understand the beauty that she could experience in sexuality. She only could see the monetary ability that it could give to her. And so Rahab has become accustomed to lying. So the really cool part of this is not that she lied. That's not cool at all. But why would she lie? If she really is on the lower rung of society, if she has had to resort to selling her body to provide for herself and any children, do you think right now she would like a big payday? Do you think right now she would like to be the hero rather than looked down upon and cast out by her entire city? Do you think right now in this moment, it would have made a lot more sense for her to be like, yes, come here, shh, 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 follow me, and to go up to the top of her roof and be like, right here they are, I'm the hero? Do you think it would have made more sense for her to have said, you know what? Not going to tell you where they are right now, but you give me a good price, and I might be convinced to tell you where they are? She could have used this situation for her own personal gain. She could have used this to get a spot inside of the king's court. She could have used it for her own leverage in so many ways, but instead she lies. And she lies because of what she believes. And I want us to look at how we can know what she believes, because the king's guard, they all leave and they go away. And as they leave and they go away, she remains there. And then later she goes back up to the roof. And when she goes back up onto the roof, we can read the conversation that she has with the two spies. And I want you guys to hear this. And if you guys could follow along. And I want you guys to write down a few different things. So if you don't have a pen right now, get a pen, because I'm going to ask you to write down a few different phrases as we go through this. This is what she says. She says to them, I know the Lord has given you this land. Can you write that down? I know the Lord has given you this land. That's the first thing she says. I'm going to keep reading, but I'm going to have you ask you write down 3 different things. So this is what she says after that. She says, we are all afraid of you. Everyone in this land is living in terror, for we have heard how the Lord made a dry path for you through the Red Sea. I want you to write down right there, we have heard. Go ahead and write that down. We have heard. So the first thing she says is she comes to them and she says, I know the Lord is giving you this land. And then she says, for we have heard. She keeps going. This is what she says. For we have heard that you made the Lord made a dry path through the Red Sea, and you left the land of Egypt. We know that what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 Amorite kings east of the Jordan River, whose people were completely destroyed. No wonder our hearts have melted in fear. No one has the courage to fight after hearing such things, for the Lord your God is the supreme God. Can you write supreme God down for me? She describes the Israelites' God as the supreme God. The supreme God of the heavens above and the earth below. Now, as we hear her explanation, I want us to think through 3 different things. And the first thing that I want all of us to think through is, what was her childhood like? Okay? Every person in this room, we have a childhood. Maybe you grew up going to a Catholic church. Maybe you grew up going to a Mormon church. Maybe you grew up going to no church. Maybe you grew up coming here to PVC Kids. And when you were growing up, you were taught certain things about who God was. Or you were taught that there wasn't an existence of a God. And so all of us, we walk into this room with certain beliefs. Rahab's beliefs were this. She was taught about the Canaanite gods. She was not taught about the God of the Israelites, the one true God. She was taught about how their gods were the ones that would provide for them, how their gods were the greatest. And at the very first statement, she says this. She says, I know the Lord has given you this land. Not, I know my gods have failed me. I know your God has given you this land. But how does she know that? For I have heard. She didn't see any of those things take place. She didn't see the Red Sea part. She didn't see them defeat Sihon and Og. She didn't see any of those things. She heard them. Sometimes we really struggle in our faith because we feel like we have to see something in order to believe. We're like, unless I see God do a miracle, unless I see that with my own 2 eyes, there's no way that I could believe in the existence of a God. There's no way that I could believe in Jesus. There's no way that I could do those things that followers of Christ are called to do unless I could see it with my eyes. This is the amazing thing about Rahab's faith. She did not see anything. She heard what the God of the Israelites had done. You know what we can see? We could see that there was a time when a man named Jesus predicted that he would die. He predicted that he would rise again. We could see that then it actually happened, and when that happened, his followers went out and changed the world. You could go back through history and you can verify historically that Jesus existed. You don't just have to believe by what you've heard. We can believe by what we've seen. Rahab's faith was incredible because she believed strictly from what she heard. And the last thing I asked you to underline there is what she called God. She said the God of the Israelites was the supreme God. What do you call God? What do I call God? Weak? Is he big enough? Is he strong enough? Can he change your circumstance? If your friend's world is falling apart, is the first thing that you tell him, well, I have a supreme God. I have a God that's big enough to change any situation, any circumstance. She had only heard, but she believed that the God of the Israelites was a supreme God. And so this is what I want to ask you to do. I want to ask you to think about your life. We could see the evidence of Rahab's faith through what she said. I want to ask you this question that I asked you at the beginning. What percentage of your friends know that you're a follower of Jesus? Here's my challenge for us. Inside of life, we could choose to do one of two things. One, we could choose, if we're a follower of Christ, we could choose to be a spy. We could say, you know what? I'm going to do this undercover Jesus thing. I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm going to be so kind. I'm going to be so loving. I'm going to help old ladies across the street. I'm going to try to treat my teachers with respect. I'm going to do this undercover Jesus thing. I'm going to be this really good moral person, and I'm just going to be a secret agent Christian, okay? Nobody needs to know that I'm a follower of Jesus. But that's not what Jesus has called us to do. He hasn't said, I want a bunch of secret agents out there infiltrating the world, infiltrating Verado, infiltrating Millennium, infiltrating Estrella. He hasn't said, I want a bunch of secret agents. He said, I want a bunch of fully devoted followers. I want a bunch of people that are so proud that they follow me, that their life has been changed by me. God wants a bunch of Rahabs, people whose beliefs are defining what they say. What percentage of your friends, families, teammates, neighbors know because you've told them that you're a follower of Jesus? This week I want to challenge you. Don't be a spy. Find two people to let know in a natural, normal way. You're not like walking up to them and being like, yo, bro, I'm a Christian, okay? What you gonna do about it? No, that is not what I'm saying here, okay? I'm saying in the course of a natural conversation, the same way that those kids on that field trip, it just came up and they shared, I am a follower of Jesus. I'm not talking about a social media post where you just blast it out there for the world to say, hey, I'm a follower of Jesus. No, in a natural way, in a conversation, through your actions and going beyond actions into your words, who will you tell that you are a follower of Jesus? Because who we say God is, it matters. It matters in such a significant way. And I want us to see right now why it mattered to Rahab. Because Rahab, she makes this statement, all of these spies, she gets them out, they leave. But before they leave, she says, I want to ask you to do one thing. I want you to ask that you're going to promise that you will protect me and my family when you come and conquer this place. That when you come and you conquer Jericho, I want to ask you to protect me. And the spies, they agreed to it. And so then they leave and they go away and they come back and God miraculously leads them to walk around Jericho, and God miraculously destroys the walls and conquers the enemy and does all of these amazing miracles because God is supreme. And this is what happens when they come back. Joshua comes to those same spies and he says this. He says, keep your promise. Go to the prostitute's house. Bring her out along with her family. The men who had been spies went in and brought out Rahab, her father, mother, brothers, and all the relatives who were with her. They moved her whole family to a safe place near the camp of Israel. Your beliefs don't just matter to you. Rahab believed that the God of the Israelites was the one true God, and because of her belief, her entire family was saved. Her parents, her siblings, the people closest to her. Your best friend, your girlfriend, your teammate, your mom, your dad, they need to know that you're a follower of Jesus. If you want to be able to impact their life, if you want them to be able to share the same eternity that you have, the eternal hope of a place in heaven, if you want them to be able to experience the Holy Spirit inside of them, if you want them to experience what you've experienced, you need to let them know that you believe who God is, that He's changed your life. It's so important that what Rahab believed came out in what she said. But the amazing thing is not just that her family was saved then, but what God did in the future. Because I want to take this and I want to fast forward like a couple hundred years. In a couple hundred years, Jesus was born. God in the flesh. Jesus came down from heaven. God came down. He lived among us. And the authors, they wrote down all of his lineage. And so they said, okay, so this is who Jesus was. We know Mary and Joseph were mom and adoptive dad. And so this is who Jesus was. And then they started on this journey, and they went one step at a time. This was grandma, this was grandpa, and they went all the way back. And they traced all the way through this incredible lineage. And if you continue to look from Jesus backwards, you look from Jesus, God in the flesh, backwards, guess who you find related to Jesus? A prostitute. If you take the lineage of Jesus and you trace it back, you will find none other than Rahab. And if there is no other evidence that God loves you and God will take anyone and will use you, God says, if you will come to me, I don't care what you've done. I don't care what lifestyle you've lived. I will use you. I have a plan for your life. Jesus was in the line of Rahab, a prostitute who answered the door with a lie, but in her heart was full of belief that God was the one true God, that he was supreme. She only heard it, but that was enough. It matters who we say that God is. I don't know what God's plan is for your life and mine, but I want us to experience something that is life-changing. I want you to go back to your family and be the biggest blessing to them. I want you to go back to your school and change the world. But we're not going to change it by hiding the relationship we have with the maker of the universe. So I'm going to ask everybody just to close your eyes just for a moment. I'm going to ask right now that God is just talking to each and every one of us. If at the beginning you answered the question no, that you are not a follower of Jesus, I 100% accept you, and I'm so glad you're here. But maybe right now, God is revealing himself to you, and he is revealing himself to you that he is the one true God. And he's moving in your heart, and he's moving in your mind. And maybe right now is the chance for you to say, I want to begin a relationship with God. He can hear your thoughts, and all you have to do is express to him, God, I love you. God, I want a relationship with you. God, will you forgive me? God, I don't have all the answers, just like Rahab didn't have all the answers. But God, I want a relationship with your son. I want to be a part of the family of God. For everybody else, I want you right now to start picturing every person in your life. Start going through your family. Who lives in your household with you? Start figuring out what percentage of the people inside of your household know you're a follower of Jesus. Now, I want you to expand that circle. I want you to go to your neighbors or the people that live in your community. I want you to think through which people maybe you've not yet told that you're a follower of Jesus through your actions, through your words. Now, I want you to expand that to your school. If you're homeschooled, the people that you do online homeschool with, if you do sports, if you do clubs, if you do marching band, I want you to continue to expand that circle, and I want you to have two faces that you land on. And right now I want to ask you, I can't force anyone to do this, but I want to ask you to make a commitment before God that you will have a conversation. Not just that you'll invite them to church, not just that you're going to, be nice to them and do something kind to them, that you're going to take it to that next step. You're going to verbally let them know you're a follower of Jesus. And I'm going to pray for you right now, and then we're going to be dismissed. God, I look around this room, and God, there are so many incredible followers of you. So many students and mentors and staff members. And God, you have given us this incredible gift of being able to see the evidence of what Jesus did. God, I am so thankful for that evidence. And God, I'm so glad that you are the supreme God, and that we can have confidence in you, and that you can use us to do incredible things. And so I ask right now, whatever faces everybody's picturing, whatever that conversation that you are divinely appointing, that as we go out, that you would allow that to happen, whether in this next week or by Thanksgiving or by Christmas, God, that you would give us the opportunity to be like Rahab. That what we say would line up with what we believe. That, God, we would see our families saved, that we'd see our friends saved, those that we're in relationship with. And that, God, together, that we too would become part of the family of God because of what your son did. It's in your name we pray. Amen.